Neptunemon dives into today's What If episode with some very powerful effects. A majority of these cards look to give fish decks buffs, and in combination with powerful cards like Digimon, expect your opponent to be washed away by the competition. While these cards aren't real, a guy can dream and wish some of these cards were, right? Right? Penguinmon returns as the level 3 for this lineup. A simple Digimon that, despite being a bird, is also treated as having aqua and sea animal in its traits. Yeah, we're doing some cheeky things to ensure that this card works with other elements of existing decks. On play, this card is typical of every searcher I've made so far in the What If series, and while I have been 100% wrong with the reveals of Coronamon and Lunamon, these cards are so far going more towards something familiar, and also different. The cards themselves feel reminiscent of Agumon and Gabumon from EX4, but overall my vision of Olympos XII Digimon would have been made so that you could cross Evo into different colors. But Grace Novamon is something I still have 100% planned. But before I tangent too far off, this search reveals 3 cards, adds a blue or black Digimon, and 1 Digimon with aqua or sea animal in its traits. A little bit more generic that makes it more viable with existing archetypes. However, if this card is played from the Digivolution sources, you simply draw 2 cards instead. Though the inheritable is typical of wider building boards, gaining you a memory once per turn when a Digimon is played by effect. And conveniently you can still run Lunamon from this What If series in the deck as well. Dolphmon also returns, and while this Digimon has no special Digivolution conditions for the fact that his effects are very powerful, on play and when Digivolving, one of your Digimon without Digivolution sources gains Rush. So what if you play this Digimon? You can give itself Rush. This Digimon focuses on all the Rush elements for the deck, making it so that your turn once per turn as an inheritable when you play a Digimon by effect, that Digimon gains Rush as well. But because this effect is so powerful, and Blue has so many memory efficient cards, the 3-cost Digivolution is something I felt was more fair. But the level 5 is the real MVP of this concept support. You see, Whamon is a Digimon who I thought deserved to have the special Digivolution cost of 2 from a Digimon with sea animal in its traits. Luckily, both Dolphmon and Whamon are blue-black Digimon that would also enable you to run certain black cards as well. Maybe you want to run Congo as well to prevent your cards from being chaos degraded. The best part of Whamon is that it does something that most blue decks are starting to do in the Digimon trading card game. That is, they steal turns. Black and blue are the only 2 colors that are notorious for this as exhibited by Miragegaogamon and Alphamon decks. Whamon on play, and when Digivolving gains you a memory for every 4 cards in your hand, and one of your Digimon cannot be attacked that turn. Its inheritable simply gives it the effect that during your opponent's turn, once per turn when an opponent's Digimon attacks, play 1 level 4 or lower Digimon from underneath this Digimon. While this effect isn't game breaking, this is mainly to set up for Digimon or even Neptunemon's ability as well. Which is where this What If episode makes its conclusion with Neptunemon. This Digimon has the typical costs and stats of the Olympos XII Digimon. However, while it is a Shaman and Olympos XII Digimon in trait, this card also receives special text that treats it as being aqua and sea animal. On play, and when Digivolving, play 1 Digimon with aqua or sea animal from under one of your Digimon without paying its memory cost. If you do, that Digimon gains blocker and rush until the end of your opponent's next turn. Meaning, if this Digimon is played on your turn, or your opponent's turn, you might be able to set up defense. Because conveniently, you can play this Digimon off Digimon's effect. But wait, there's more! All turns, your Digimon with aqua or sea animal in their traits, and have no Digivolution sources, are unaffected by the effects of your opponent's option cards. In discussion with players, there was contention that DeathXmon is always the drag for this deck. But honestly, Fish is not that competitive, and in all fairness I feel that rogue decks generally suffer more when pitted against security control. The element of effect protection is closely tied to black, but the general effect of playing your Digimon by effects and under the sources is always a blue Digimon thing. In terms of combos, Whamon adds a lot to the interactiveness of stealing turns, something that I absolutely love in terms of the concept. Remember, with Aegistramon, if your opponent plays a Digimon, you may activate one of your Digimons when digivolving effects. If Neptunemon is in play, and with sources, you could use this effect to trigger and play a Digimon with Aqua or Sea Animal. Likewise, you can do the same thing with even Aegistramon, and if you have 8 or 12 cards, immediately steal 2 or 3 memory and end your opponent's turn. While this doesn't make fish decks broken or busted, it is still missing elements of recycling your Digimon in pieces. Homer Yushima is a tamer that can be potentially used, but personally I'd rather utilize some other elements of the Sayo tamer I had crafted many episodes back. While you could utilize Sayo with Digimon that go to the trash, this also makes it more carefree for you to attack in its security, because even if the Digimon is deleted, you can slot that Digimon back underneath as a recycling tool using her. In general, what are your thoughts on the Neptunemon cards proposed? Do you think it's an upgrade that is needed for Aegistramon and fish decks? Let me know as I wind down to the last 2 Olympos XII members, Venusmon and Volcanusmon, followed by a Villains and a DNA episode. Who knows, maybe I'll get to what I had in mind for Grace Novamon before Bandai does the reveal of what they were planning. This DigiPanda, logging out.